Hello and welcome to another Wednesday edition of Jamaica Magazine. I'm Theodore Henry. The last time I checked, we all had emotions. And of course, some of us experience them more intensely and frequently than others because of our biological makeup, personality, and life experiences. Plus, there are so many other factors that contribute to how we operate. So, knowing that, why is it still almost taboo for males to open up and be vulnerable about their emotions? Why are we not more receptive to males who generally need somebody to talk to without feeling ashamed or belittled? You and I, as regular citizens of this country, need to make a conscious effort to protect our men and our boys, as they are our protectors and their mental health matters too.
Good day, I'm Lisa Rowe and this is your JIS News for Wednesday, March 26, 2025. $9.2 billion. That's the total cost of the government's package of budget giveaways. Minister of Finance and the Public Service, Favour Williams, revealed the figure as she closed the 2025-2026 budget debate in Parliament yesterday. She is, however, assuring the public that the government will continue to follow the path of sound fiscal management.
You can be assured that we will continue to be good stewards of the country's resources.
Meanwhile, the government has responded to concerns of inability to meet loan fees by micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, MSMEs. As such, Minister Williams has announced that the Development Bank of Jamaica, DBJ, will include the fees into the principal amount they borrow. The MSME Alliance had expressed concerns regarding the difficulty of accessing financing from the DBJ.
They sent me a letter to say to the MSMEs that their loan fee financing for improved MSME access to credit products is designed to enhance financial accessibility and affordability for micro, small, and medium enterprises by eliminating the barrier of upfront loan-related fees. And so the DBJ is saying that they will integrate the loan fees into the principal loan amount, allowing borrowers to distribute these costs over the loan tenure instead of making an upfront payment.
As the government seeks to increase the housing stock and cater to low, middle, and high-income earners, it is repositioning responsible agencies to meet these needs. It includes the divestment of the Jamaica Mortgage Bank, JMB, which lends to developers for the construction of residential property. Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness says the agency will be listed on the Jamaica Stock Exchange market in a few months to acquire additional capital to fund more projects.
You can participate in the wealth that it will create. We will then target and focus, as we have been doing, the HAJ and the NHD to focus now on developing more of the middle lower and affordable housing solutions. And for those persons who have no income whatsoever, we are building out and scaling up the new social housing program where we provide housing for the poorest of the poor. If it's one thing that this government wants to do, is to ensure that there is fair and equitable development in the society.
Dr. Holness was speaking at the ribbon-cutting ceremony for the Nitrums of Waterloo Housing Complex on Tuesday. The 47 luxury unit development, comprised of 1- and 2-bedroom apartments, is jointly funded by the Jamaica Mortgage Bank and Sagicor. The Prime Minister says other initiatives to build more houses include the Small Development Partnership Program through the NHT and the inclusion of residential development under the Urban Development Tax Incentive.
If you are going to be building solutions that are going to be catering to young people, studios, 1-bedroom apartments, these kinds of things, then you will get even more incentives when we announce them in a few months. So we are doing everything we can to support the housing market, to give the incentive to those persons who are empathetic about the shortage of housing in Jamaica and who want to see a structured and sustainable transformation of the built environment. This administration is putting in place all the measures to support the private initiative that will work in alignment with the government.
Moving on to roadworks, the government will be undertaking a strategic road maintenance review to look at the preservation of the country's roadways. A major focus is to have institutional and governance arrangements that will guide the establishment of a single roads authority to streamline governance and oversight. Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness says with this in place, there will be clear lines of enforcement against persons who destroy the roads. Other components of the review will explore sustainable funding and contracting arrangements to implement long-term performance-based contracts for maintenance and upkeep.
We are also integrating geospatial technologies and AI-driven solutions to improve planning and efficiency. We have significantly mapped and referenced over 90% of all roads in Jamaica. This information will help us to create an intelligence register of all our roads, to use it in spatial planning, and importantly, to develop a fiscal preventative maintenance plan which aligns to the engineered lifespan of the road. This also lays the basis for smarter and connected infrastructure to address traffic, public safety, civil defense, security, and logistics.
Dr. Holness also informs that directions have been given to the National Works Agency and the Spatial Data Management Branch to begin the process of developing a uniformed address and a zip code system for Jamaica, including the use of digital addresses. And finally, the Public Procurement Amendment Act 2025 was approved with 4 amendments in the Senate recently. The act aims to improve effectiveness and efficiency in the country's procurement process of products and services for government entities. Minister of Industry, Investment and Commerce, Senator Auburn Hill, who piloted the bill, says this advances the government's reform agenda and will transform Jamaica's public procurement landscape.
It is necessary to A, correct conceptual and fundamental deficiencies in the Act. B, to clarify the law with respect to methods of public procurement, approvals, and value limits established under the Act. C, it's to repeal provisions pertaining to sector committees. D, introduce the concept of levels of competition in public procurement, and, Mr. President, E, provide for additional works, goods, and services to be exempt from the generally applicable public procurement processes under the Act.
Leader of Opposition Business, Senator Peter Bunting, supported the legislation, saying the changes would address administrative inefficiency.
The principle of encouraging competition, the principle of improving transparency and oversight. And to help do that, we need to strengthen the e-procurement systems, where a lot of this becomes online and can facilitate much more rapid and transparent bidding processes.
And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Lisa Rowe. Thanks for watching.
A man's mental state needs to be intact in order for him to provide and protect his family, go after his goals, and have meaningful relationships with his peers. In the upcoming feature, we hear one young man's story on how he managed to overcome bipolar disorder.
Thomas Paine, English-born American philosopher, once said, "The real man smiles in trouble, gathers strength from distress, and grows brave by reflection." Statistics indicate that our men and boys continue to suffer in silence, as they are oftentimes not socialized to seek help, and in particular mental health. They are socialized to feel that they're masculine and powerful and strong, and they don't have to display or say anything about the issues that affect them.
Around the time in high school, I went to Ireland High School. Around when I was doing my CSEC, I started experiencing strange phenomenon. So I would start to hallucinate. Of course, you have the mood fluctuations, and I'm wondering what is going on. I start to get these ideas in my head that, I have powers, or, what they call delusions of grandeur, when a bipolar person becomes in a manic state. So you get all of this energy, which is great for creativity. You get all these ideas, but there comes a point where it kind of teeters off. If you're not in control of yourself and your emotions, you can become erratic and sometimes intimidating. There I was in high school, not sure what's going on, and naturally my father's a pastor, so the first thing he went to, demon possession. So they call up the church and come over to the house, and everybody start, pray and olive oil and all sort of thing. And eventually, when that wasn't working too, I'm not saying that not real and God now work, but eventually somebody said, let's take him to UE Hospital and see if there's something else at play. And the doctors did their analysis and they said, okay, this looks like it could be a mental disorder. They started me on a course of medication, get the diagnosis. They thought it was schizophrenia at first because the symptoms are similar. And then you go through this whole journey of medication and side effects until you get the right one, and you start to come down and they say, okay, this is actually a mental illness called bipolar type 1. And all that simply means is he has to go through a lifestyle change. So can't drink as much, definitely can't smoke, have to get my sleep, have to get my rest, have to exercise, and for a time stay on medication. Right? And it took a while to get to a place of what you would call me a high-functioning software. It took me a while of denial, so I'm on the medication, and it's so deceptive. You feel great. I'm normal, not going, but as soon as I came off the medication, or I start drink too much, or I'm out too late, bam, we have what's called an episode. And the thing about having an episode, a man like me in Jamaica, very large, can be intimidating. If I'm on the street alone and I'm not surrounded by a community of people that know me very well, I can be intimidated. One night I'm there, I decide to go off by myself at the bar, and I'm erratic, I'm intense, I'm passionate, I'm going up to random people talking, sharing my crazy ideas, and them take it as a check. Again, we as Jamaican men, we have this thing about aggression and proving ourselves. So immediately them say, no man, this youth a violate, we have to deal him. So big fight start, and I'm manic, I'm high. So if you are 10, me I come 100. So whatever you put into me, I'm gonna, manipulate and come back more. So big fight start, and eventually somebody else take up a piece of board and go so wookum. And I went on the ground, and then it kind of shook me, and I kind of came back to my senses for a bit. I'm like, whoa, I'm in an episode, I need to get to the hospital, I need to get back on my treatment, right? So that was a wake-up call for me personally to take it more seriously, because your family and friends are worried, searching where is my son. You can imagine when my mother come into A&E and see me bleeding and in a manic state. So at that time I was about 18 or so. I'm 28 now, so I was about 10 years ago or so. It made me kind of come to terms with the fact that I have to shift my lifestyle. I have to take control, not just for myself, but for the people around me. And thankfully, after I decided to get more serious about it. I haven't had an episode in a very long time, years, as I said. I'm currently a production manager. I was able to get back on track with my dreams. I didn't use it as an excuse to say, all right, I have this thing where I probably can't make up too much noise. I can't go after the big things, just stay quiet, take a small job. I said, no, I still want to be a big filmmaker. I want to make movies, I want to make music. So I decided all I have to do is take a one pill every night or every other night and just don't drink too much, which I can manage, and sleep and work out. That's a good trade-off. One of the most important things I learned about it was, especially with my disorder, it's the community around it, the people around it.
Mental health issues do not discriminate. So we need to be mentally aware and mentally prepared.
Teaching is learn by doing. So students don't learn by you telling them what to do, but they actually are able to use that hands-on approach to learn about what it is that they're doing. So for example, we're teaching about light, and we talk about what is light, so you give them a little bit of a background, you find out what they know as well, and then you're now actually creating something. You're making a model, you're using art, you're using science, you're using technology. So you're able to integrate these different disciplines so that students can walk away with the different process skills. In order for them to create, they have to go through a process. They have to think, they have to problem solve. And that is how you get the critical thinking skills and the creativity coming out, these 21st century skills. That is how they're able to actually do it.
Children, and we have rights. We have a right to be
protected,
provided for,
and included.
Don't beat me up, don't belittle me, and please don't molest me.
I am under 13. I should not be working for a living.
That is child labor. It is illegal.
Stop leaving me alone. I am too young to provide for myself. I need your guidance.
Protect our nation's children. They have rights too. To learn more about children's rights, call or visit the offices of the Child Development Agency.
I don't know if you have been feeling the heat, but I sure have. As we draw closer and closer to the summer months, temperatures are rising. And with rising temperatures comes the risk of heat strokes. Our next feature provides information on how to identify and treat a heat stroke.
The heat is no joke. From as early as 7 a.m., one can expect the rays from the sun to peek their way through their window, sweating, twisting and turning in your bed, wearing the least amount of clothes to help cool you down, but nothing works. Wondering if the place could get any hotter, you start to question some of your life decisions. Walking on the street amplifies this. As the sun rays hit your strong melanin, you reach for your umbrella, hat, shades, water, or even find a cool place to shelter. Am I about to have a heat stroke, or is something else happening to me? But wait, how do I know if it's heat stroke that I'm experiencing?
So heat stroke is the most severe form of heat illness. And it is really defined as a condition where your body temperature goes up to 40 degrees centigrade and where there is some form of neurologic dysfunction. And what I mean by that is loss of consciousness or seizures, fainting spells, etc.
Doc, How does someone identify heat stroke?
So for heat stroke, you may be sweating excessively, or your skin might be very dry and hot. You would be fainting, you would have lost consciousness, or you may be having a seizure at the time. Prior to the heat stroke though, there may be some warning signs, like you may be nauseous, vomiting, diarrhea, having muscle cramps, becoming confused. You may have an increased heartbeat, and you may be very thirsty, and you may have mood changes or irritability.
Okay, Doc. So what is the first thing a bystander should do if they suspect someone might have heat stroke?
One of the first things is to call for help, because heat stroke is a medical emergency and you will definitely need to take the person into an accident and emergency department. However, it is important to move the person as soon as possible to a cool place, to try and cool them down with a water or ice bath, to ensure that their clothing is loose, so you would move tight clothing from them. You would try to circulate air around them, for example, using a fan.
I get what you're saying, but how can it be prevented?
So heat stroke can be prevented by ensuring that you decrease the amount of sun exposure, especially when you are doing physical activity. Now, in a person who is working in the sun, clearly they have to do that work, but they can help by taking rest breaks in a cooler area, drinking a lot of liquids every 15 minutes or so.
Now that we know how to prevent heat stroke, how can it be treated, Doc?
Heat stroke is treated at a hospital. It is, as I said, a severe form of heat illness, and therefore the person will require IV fluids, oxygen, cool baths, or even ice baths, regulation of their temperature and their vital signs.
Is there a difference between heat stroke and heat exhaustion?
Heat exhaustion, there is no loss of consciousness and the symptoms are not as severe. So the person would be, their temperature would still be within the normal temperature. They would be sweating profusely to try and keep their temperature down. They would be aware that something is going wrong with them. So they may have headaches, and they are able to drink fluid. So you can actually give them fluid at that point in order to prevent it from getting onto heat stroke.
How long does it take to recover from heat stroke?
There are several risk factors that make heat stroke more likely to happen or more likely to impair the individual. As I had said, heat stroke can be fatal. So if you're elderly, if you're taking certain types of medications, it may not be as easy for you to recover from it, whereas if you're a young, active person, the risk factors are less, and your recovery is likely to be smoother, or recovery is likely to be possible any at all.
Keep that smile on their faces and preserve their innocence. Cherish the moments you have with them and create the best memories. Let's inspire our children to dream big and work hard to achieve all they aspire to be. Take the time to listen to our children and really hear their side of the story. Our children deserve love and the right to access their basic needs. Do your part and protect our children.
We're at the end of today's show, but be sure to join us again tomorrow for another lineup geared towards providing you with information on the government's policies and initiatives for building a better Jamaica. You may visit our website, jis.gov.jm, to rewatch this show or to catch up on the others we have on the site. If you don't remember anything else from today's show, please remember to give a listening ear to the men in your life. That might just be what they need to take on another day. I'm Theodore Henry, telling you thanks for watching from our production team here at the JIS.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.